Hey, Billy the Bake here. I'd like to thank you for joining me today. We're sitting in beautiful downtown Davis, Oklahoma. Not moving. Appears to be some kind of blockage up ahead. Ah, the joys of transportation. Anyhow, I'd like to thank you for joining me today. If you're new to the channel, let me introduce myself. I'm William, and I've been skating this line in recovery since the Reagan administration. This doesn't make me any better, faster, stronger, smarter than anybody else, and definitely not any prettier. But it does mean that I've had time to get a postdoc in FAFO, and also plenty of time to screw up, screw off, and screw around, and results in mistakes made and lessons learned. Uh, that's what this program is about. This channel is about. Is A lot of it is mistakes made and lessons learned in recovery, and hope you'll join along. Let's get on to today's topic, and I want to touch a little bit on the shadow side of recovery. Something I don't think we talk about a whole lot in meetings, And we tend to tell new folks that, do this, your life will get better. And that's true. If there's one of the number of things I've learned, if at the top of the stack has got to be, I've seen not only for myself, but I've seen in other folks. Show up, follow directions, get the result. It's that simple. This works. But I think that sometimes we don't warn people about some of the things that may happen in recovery. I wanted to tell you the story of John and John and Garrett the Ferret. These were three friends of mine. And these were all guys that I had some respect for. Each one of them, at one point, had been working what looked to me to be a pretty solid program, was really putting in some work and getting some results in their life. And all three of them ended up going out and are now dead. And all three of these guys were close friends of mine. These were not just some random acquaintances that I knew at meetings and I saw, knew by name. No, these were guys I spent time with outside of the roads. The first John was someone I met in 2003, and we became pretty good friends. And I learned a lot from him. He gave me my first lessons in playing guitar. He gave me my first lessons in HTML, which I'm good at enough that I drive a truck for a living. But I actually did make my own website that I did e-commerce on. And I was able to submit to search engines and get Google rankings, and, in large part because of John. But he taught me a lot about friendship. He taught me a lot about being of service. He was the webmaster for the website for a program in the metropolitan area I used to live in. He would take in people in recovery. He took people to meetings. He had service commitments, home group, worked the steps, had a sponsor. He was hitting it by the numbers, man. And something happened. He got a resentment. He copped a beef with someone. Things spiraled. And it would have been Thanksgiving. Trying to think what year it was, probably 2009. He had gone out. I'd known him for a few years. And I would stop by and visit him once in a while. I'd call him once in a blue moon. I'd stop by his place, check in and say hi. And I didn't lecture him. I didn't talk to him about getting sober. Because he knew about it. This guy had double-digit years of recovery when I met him. And stayed sober for the first few years that I knew him. He wasn't new. He freaking knew the deal. I just wanted him to know that I was his friend, man. I wanted him to know he was loved. I wanted him to know he had a friend. I wanted him to feel it in his heart. If he made his way back to the rooms, he'd be welcome. There was a chair there for him, man. I saw him, and if memory serves, it was 08 or 09, Thanksgiving. He was in the hospital, and he had a MRSA infection from a dirty needle. And subsequent year, which I believe, oh my God, it looks like we might move. Subsequent year, I think it was, but I remember it was once again Thanksgiving, and I think it was the following year, which would have made it 09 or 10, that I called him up just to, grief him a little bit, tease him. I, called up asking for web support for my website, and he didn't recognize me, and he was real drunk. And he was a little out of sorts that I was calling on Thanksgiving at home. I thought he'd see my phone number on the caller ID, man. And I called him up the next day and chatted with him. And that was the last time I talked to him. He died of cirrhosis of the liver a number of days later. This is a cat who was a good guy. He helped a lot of people. He had a good heart. He did a lot of service. And at one time, he had been very active. He'd been working the steps at spots, like I say, working it by the numbers. And the disease took him out. That man's my brother. I love him and I miss him. He's gone. There's another John, who was a guy I had a lot of respect for. And he had some number of years when I first met him and grew to get into the double digits in recovery as I knew him. And he was younger in the game than I was, but he'd been around a while. And I really respected a lot about this cat, because
upcoming violation.
If I needed to find someone a bed who's trying to get sober, I could call my boy John. This is other John. I could call other John. And other John knew he was dialed in, and he was super good at outreach to new people. And he was, at least at one point in time, he was hitting it hard on working the steps. Had a sponsor, he was doing the things that we recommend folks do. I was a pretty close friend to his too. I was at his bachelor party. I helped at his wedding, setting up chairs, moving stuff around. We were kind of tight, me and him. I was real fond of the cat. He comes home one day. He finds his wife OD'd. She'd been in recovery too. He finds her OD'd. And next thing, a mutual friend of ours finds him OD'd. The third cat was Garrett the Ferret. And I remember Garrett's first meeting, man. He was this little kid. He was maybe 17. He might have only been 16. He was a kid. And things probably ain't going good for you when you ain't even old enough to drink legally and you show up in the rooms, man. It's not a happy sign, right? Now, this kid showed up, and I remember that first meeting. And after the meeting, a lot of us would hang out. This kid was waiting for his parents to come pick him up. And me and Garrett were standing there smoking cigarettes, and so was a third John, Johnny K, was smoking a cigarette. And I remember Garrett, you could tell he felt really gauche and out of place. And he's you guys like dead baby jokes. Well, you know, I grew up in proximity of bikers. I've worked in slaughterhouses. I've been a mechanic all over hell and back. And Johnny was a Marine who became a military contractor. So he's not easily fazed by things, right? So we both look at this kid and say, bring it. And this kid, he hits us with the regular stuff, and then he hits us with some stuff that's so off the wall and so gnarly and so bad taste. Me and John here looking at each other stunned. This kid blew us out of the water. But we decided right then and there, we liked this kid, right? We wanted him to keep coming back, man. He was good people. And you know, the whole meeting, it was a pretty good sized meeting, probably about 3 dozen people. We took this kid under our wing collectively as kind of our mascot, man. Guys there, a bunch of us, we rode motorcycles. There were guys shooting guns, playing poker, going hiking, going camping. We'd go out to eat. A lot of fellowship. You know, guys in that meeting had sponsors, worked steps. It was a meeting for people who really wanted recovery. And there was just such a lot of camaraderie in that group. Really rare place, man. It's still going. I still stay in contact with these folks, even though I haven't been back for years. And my friend Garrett the Ferret, you know, he got clean so young, and he just, you know, he'd wonder, you know, am I really that bad? Well, you know, the kid he marked up some years, which is a long time when you're a teenager, man. A year's a long time. And he marked up years. And he was doing so good. He had a sponsor. He was working the steps. And he ended up going out. And he ended up going out, and he died by his own hand. And that gutted me. It gutted a lot of us. So why do I tell this story? Because it's feel good and happy? Hell no, man. Because it's the shadow side of recovery, and here's what I'm getting at. If you hang out, if you stay sober, I'm going to promise you run a real serious risk of losing people that you're fond of, losing people who you've watched do so well. People that are doing stuff that you have respect for. And I had respect for that kid Garrett, because he was making some big changes in his life, really turning his game up as a teenager, and then as a young man. And my friend John and my friend the other John, both of these cats I had respect for. You know, it's not just the sadness of seeing people come through the revolving door at the front of the meeting room wishing they could get. No, these are guys you see year in and year out. that you get tight. And if you stay sober, if you stay clean, you run a significant risk. And I'm going to tell you, it's not just me. I've talked to a number of other folks who have what I would call long-term time, and just personal. This is just personal opinion here, and I make no claim that its origin is the mind of greatness. Okay, I consider if you mark up 2 digits worth of years, that's what I would call long-term recovery. And other people I've met who have long-term recovery, my story that I've related of losing these cats who are close to me, these cats that were doing good, that I looked at and I respected what they were doing and lost to the disease. My story's not that unique, man. You know? So is it worth it staying in even though you lose people? Well, of course, because you know what? You stay out in the problem, you're gonna be that guy who breaks someone's heart. And you're gonna lose people you care about anyway. You know. But the downside to it being in the rooms is you're just gonna be thinking they look like they're gonna be one of the few who make it and go the distance. And if it happens to someone who's close to you, the cruelty is that you're gonna have to feel those feelings. I've had to feel those feelings. My mutual friends of the people I've named had to feel those feelings. And we had to be there and be present for that. You know, and it is truly a cost. And I feel that the cost of anything, even something that is so worth the cost, but I feel the cost should be adequately and accurately disclosed. So I know a little bit of a sad one today, but you know, this is something that has been rattling between my ears to want to put on the chin. And I honestly don't totally know why, but it's a story that it keeps banging between my ears, saying, "Hey, be this story here. I need to be told, because these guys are loved and missed, and maybe, just maybe, by telling this story, maybe someone will hear it that needs to hear it. It'll be of help to somebody. If not, sorry, I don't think there's going to be a lot of chuckles in this one, unless you're at least 30-40% sicker than I am. And I'm as sick as my truck is slow, and you can tell that by the number of people passing me. Anyway, wherever you are, whatever you're up to, I hope sincerely you are safe, well, and happy. And until next time, I'll see you out on the road.